Good morning. Welcome to the 5th annual WATAC conference brought to you by the Washington State Teacher Advisory Council and the Center for Strengthening the Teaching Profession. I'm Heather Byington, the 2009 ESD 113 Regional Teacher of the Year and one of the conference planners. Currently, I'm the ELL Instructional Specialist for North Thurston Public Schools in Lacey. David?
Hi, everyone. I'm David Beidenveld. I'm the 2021 ESD 113 Regional Teacher of the Year. I'm one of the conference planners also. I teach middle school mathematics, and this year I'm a remote instructional specialist at North Thurston Public Schools in Lacey.
This morning, it is our pleasure to welcome you all to the conference. Before we introduce the conference theme, we're honored to have Nisqually Tribe member, River Ridge High School Junior and student panelist at 11:15 today, Gabby Arellano Villegas, lead us in a land acknowledgement. Gabby's mom, Angelica Villegas, will also present today during a 1 o'clock session. Thank you, Gabby.
Hatslahay, Angelica Villegas seats that 12 Chud Squally, Squally Ups Chud. Good day, my name is Angelica Villegas, and I am from Nisqually. I am from the people of the river, people of the grass. I'd like to clarify that my daughter is not an enrolled tribal member, that we are the first, that I am the first generation survivor of genocide perpetuated by my own people through blood quantum, and so is my daughter. We're going to start off first with the purpose of a land acknowledgement, and then Gabby will do the honors of sharing her land acknowledgement. So a land acknowledgement is a recommendation from the state of Washington as a gesture to honor tribal sovereignty and partnership. The purpose of a land acknowledgement is to acknowledge the intentional and historical ongoing oppression of Native peoples, their identity, their way of life, and ways of knowing as the original inhabitants of this land. It is important when making a land acknowledgement that it comes from a place deep within our beings, from a place where our spirits have been moved and we are able to put ourselves in the shoes of the ancestors that died defending this land and their way of life, and the children stolen from their families by the federal government. A land acknowledgement is saying, yes, we know now and find it true that this land, the land of the free and home of the brave, is for in fact stolen, that was forcibly ceded to settler Euro-Americans by the means of genocide and brutal violence. In making a land acknowledgement, we open an opportunity for people to look deeper into the culture of settler colonialism and its tools of racism and oppression that have perpetuated the erasure and marginalization of Indigenous identity and ways of knowing since time immemorial. Thank you.
Hot slap to beat seed Gabriela Arellano Villegas seats the to all chuds scully ups chud. It's good to see you all. My name is Gabriela Arellano Villegas. I am from Nisqually. I am from the people of the river and people of the grass. I am currently a junior at River Ridge High School. We acknowledge that the North Thurston Public Schools and institutions reside on the usual and accustomed lands of the Squally Ops, people of the river, people of the grass, also known as the Nisquallies. We recognize that these territories are stolen lands, forcibly ceded to the U.S. government through the forged and forced signing of the Shinanum Treaty, also known as the Medicine Creek Treaty of 1854. We acknowledge and respect the resilience of the Squally Ops and their survivance of direct and intentional genocide, forced removal of children, and their constant pushback against assimilation. We honor and support their continued stewardship of these territories, for the Squally Ops are caretakers of this area, and we honor their inherent responsibility and sovereignty as protectors of Mother Earth and all life. This also comes with an inherent acknowledgement toward their endeavors for the restoration and renewal of the land and waterways. We as American citizens and people who directly benefit from the ceding of these territories, the sustainability of clean water and air, give thanks to the Squally Ops. We are, as the BSC, are committed to a partnership and upholding relationships that centers on the healing of intergenerational trauma, reclamation of Indigenous identity, and respect for all life. We'd like to pay homage and give thanks to those who have fought, sacrificed, and paved the way in the continuum towards justice. This land acknowledgement and continued work is in honor of these warriors, their families, and as well as future generations to come. As a young Indigenous woman, I feel it's an honor to be a part of the BSU, and I acknowledge their continued commitment to the work to uphold the relationships of Black and Indigenous peoples. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Gabby and Angelica.
So the theme of this conference is Reimagining Education in a Time of Disruption. The pandemic forced educators to make many changes this year. It also provides an opportunity for us to think about pre-pandemic school we'd like to preserve and what we'd like to reimagine and reinvent moving forward. As we reflect on this, we naturally ask ourselves, what is education really for? How can we include more voices as we design what school will look like moving forward? What innovations in technology will we need to keep and use?
Our conference theme makes me think of a quote from Lewis Carroll's Through the Looking Glass. Alice laughed. "There's no use trying," she said. "One can't believe impossible things." "I dare say you haven't had much practice," said the Queen. "When I was your age, I always did it for half an hour a day. Why, sometimes I believed as many as 6 impossible things before breakfast." For the past year and a half, David, my co-MC, and I have been reimagining education and math, designing instruction with a lens for greater equity. As a result of our work, I've seen myself engage students' voices and ideas more in math lessons. I've seen David's students start to refer to the negative sign as the opposite monster and interact with algebraic relationships through a brother and sister story. What this experience teaches me is that when people who are passionate about education pool our ideas and efforts, we can affect change for more equitable access to education for all. But it all starts with a vision, and that's why constantly reimagining education is so important, especially at this unique moment of disruption.
We conference planners chose 3 focuses for today's conference. What is education for? Equity, families, and student voices, and digital innovation. We will have 3 sessions today with 1 session focused on each of these topics. At 2:15, there will be a Choose Your Own Adventure unconference session where conference participants will get a chance to share your ideas with others. Thank you for being here.
Before we jump into the conference content, I'd like to give a shout out to the whole conference planning team. We are educators who have met regularly over many months to make this conference happen, including becoming podcast hosts in the process. We want to use this time to really listen and elevate the voices and perspectives of students, families, and educators about this once-in-a-lifetime opportunity to take this time of disruption to our system and reimagine how we might better serve all students and families. If we were in a room right now, I'd have the planning and support team stand and take a bow. They can certainly still do that. We just won't see most of them. Shanoa Meager, Dave Gammon, David Beitenveld, Denisha Salcedo, Aaron Marswick, myself, Heather Byington, Hillary Seidel, Jeannie Gruber, Lindsay Stevens, Melissa Charette, Stephanie Prosser. Let's give all of them some virtual applause. Thank you to these great educators for making this conference happen.
Okay, now for some details about today. Registered participants, you all should have received an email with a link to the conference agenda. This is your ticket and roadmap for the day with links and times for each of the panels and breakout discussions. If you can't locate the agenda, please contact Erin. Her info is currently on the screen. And we've built in breaks during the day so we can all come back refreshed for the next session.
We encourage you to share what you're thinking and learning on social media. Let's reimagine education together on an even larger scale. Be sure to check out the conference back channel on social media throughout today and contribute to it by using the hashtags #WATAC 2021 and #WATeachLead. You can also tag WATAC, OSPI, and CSTEP on Facebook and Twitter. In case you're new to Twitter, a how-to guide for setting up a Twitter account is located on page 2 of the agenda.
Following the conference, CSTEP will email a conference evaluation. We'd really appreciate feedback about how today went for you. Your follow-up email will also include information about clock hours. For the purposes of clock hours, we will be taking attendance in all the sessions today. Be sure your name is spelled accurately and matches your registration name when you join the webinars to ensure your clock hours are credited.
We want this conference to be something that inspires you to elevate your educator voice, that motivates you to try something new, and that connects you to other educators. We encourage you to use this day to listen for and hear different perspectives and voices that will push your thinking about what it means to be an educator today and in the future. We also encourage you to share the bright spots you've discovered this year. What innovations have you tried? How have you engaged your students and their families' voices? Where have you found joy this year? We hope you'll share these ideas today at 2:15 in the Choose Your Own Adventure session.
Finally, we couldn't have timed this conference any better as a kickoff to Teacher Appreciation Week. For you and your colleagues who serve students and our communities, thank you for your leadership. We appreciate your care, your energy, and how you share your brilliance every day. Okay, let's get this conference started.
Okay, thank you everyone for coming. My name is Denisha Saucedo. I am 2018 PSESD Regional Teacher of the Year, and I'd like to kick this conference off with a dream. As you enter your classroom, we all put the standards on the board and we know what we want our students to be able to walk away with. But we'd like you to take a moment to make a bigger dream. When you walk into your classroom and share the space with your students, when you think about the long-lasting impact of your time that you have with them, what will you envision will stick, right? So in a perfect world, 3 to 5 years from now, even longer, what will they be able to do? What will they still be able to do? What will they still find value in? We'd like you to take out a piece of paper, open up a Word document, Google Doc, whatever you have, and we'd like you to participate with us. You're going to start with each of these prompts. 3 to 5 years from now, my students will still. Think about that. What will they still have, do, be? And they are still able to. What are they still able to do? And what will they still find value in? We're going to give you a few moments to craft your idea. And we'd like to invite you to share on Padlet. But before we give you even some student examples, the formatting, we just want you to brainstorm and think. And we're going to stop and pause for 3 minutes. Thank you all for taking that time to complete your dream exercise. And if you're not quite complete, just take a couple more minutes to continue to participate in the Padlet. So we as educators, sometimes we forget to ask our students. And Heather and David got the opportunity to ask their 5th graders the same question that we're asking you today.
I have to say, David's favorite response is the one about math. Oh, and live, but math.
I like the one about food.
Somebody said they like the chicken nugget response the best.
Absolutely, absolutely. So why is it that we are taking this minute to go ahead and show you student examples? Because we'd like to ask you if your dreams align. Do they align? How will you know if you don't ask them, right? How will you know? We can guess, we can make assumptions, but instead of that, we ask you to ask them. And we did the same thing. We asked some of the student panelists that will be here with you later, actually 10 o'clock. And here are some of their responses.
Shall we play?
So just as a reminder, please share your dreams using the hashtag WATAC 2021, as well as posting them to the Padlet.
Next, we have a 7-minute video that we're going to show that will highlight some of the presenters for today's sessions, including Denisha's students that she interviewed for the student panel that they'll have in a few minutes. To listen to the footage from which these segments were taken, you can listen to the WATAC conference podcasts. Following this video, I think we'll have our break between sessions, if I'm not mistaken. All right, so let's go ahead and watch our conference trailer.
It really is, and that's even what I've even told some of the people is you've got to be open to having those honest conversations that are going to make you uncomfortable. And as long as it's framed in the form of, I'm not coming at you hating you, I'm coming to let you know what you don't know and how we can fix that. And really just having those conversations about what does equity look like to you? What does it mean? And then once we have those conversations, we can digest that and figure out where the holes are and what do we need to do for that.
One of the biggest barriers is the thought that there is no problem. Yeah. We don't have a race problem here. We don't have a culture problem here.
Yeah.
And then just continuing in the same rutted thinking that we've been in for generations without caring enough to see it for what it really is.
We need to acknowledge why all this work around equity is happening and where it stems from. And unfortunately, Euro-Americans are at the other end of the table of those conversations. But if we can ask BIPOC students and families to be vulnerable enough to share their stories of trauma, of the education experience, then Euro-Americans adults should be asked the same, in the name of equity and reimagining education as a place of belonging and inclusivity.
The spaces that we're coming into aren't safe. And they have historically not been safe for us. When you think about the classroom, people are like, oh, safe. It's not safe when you look at the history of Indigenous peoples on this land.
I think that the most impactful education is really where students feel believed in and that they're able to continue on in life and be able to be proud of themselves and feel successful and feel like they have the tools necessary to build the future that they want to see in themselves. I think education is about goal setting, and it's about helping people get where they want to be, not where you want them to be, and like appealing to people. And I also think it's finding what you're good at, finding your niche. Everybody is different, and a one size fits all like method doesn't work. But if every teacher and every student kind of approaches school as like a relationship and as a tool to better themselves and like their personal goals, I think that it will become much more productive. And I just think that's like honestly the
It's
purpose.
also difficult for, I mean, it's difficult for every student to feel empowered in a different way. I mean, whether it's not seeing themselves in a history book or not having the resources they need, education doesn't always empower students the way I feel like it should. I think that if we make a bigger effort to make sure that our students feel like they're human first and that it's okay to make mistakes and not be perfect or not get every assignment in on time, it would make things a lot easier, especially when there are very big problems in the world. I mean, there's a lot of anti-Asian hate right now. There's police brutality. There's the issues with women and them not feeling safe in the world. There's so many things that we're hyper aware of right now because of the situation we're in, but they're always there. And our students of color and our female students, our LGBTQ plus students are always experiencing those struggles. And so walking into a classroom and feeling like they don't have the space to be human first and to, feel comfortable talking about their struggles is a problem.
I think the biggest factor in education is, obviously your classes, your courses, but it's definitely the teacher. The teacher makes the class every time. The teachers that are interactive, the teachers that love the students, that love their job for the job, those are the teachers that'll help you the most.
It's very, very important that we elevate voices of color because those are the voices that we need to elevate. And hiring staff is the best way that we can do that. And making sure that we retain those staff of color is very important. But honestly, more than staff of color, it's also very important to enhance the voices of students of color because these students are very perceptive of the different problems in schools, and they provide a perspective that no one can provide, a staff or a student that is not of color.
We want you to have the lifestyle you want. And I think it's important you focus on the lifestyle the individual wants, because so often, especially now as a freshman, I can see this a lot as this cookie cutter view of like, you want to go to this community college and then you want to take this path. Like it's so like regulated and there's not any wiggle room. And so like, I often like butt heads with my counselors on this because I'm like, well, what if I don't want to do that? They're like, well, this is just how people do it. And I'm like, yeah, but I don't want to do that. So like, there's just various like, it shouldn't be forced in this like cookie cutter formula because people aren't cookie cutters. We can't just be put into cogs. So.
Yes, parents being like, wow, they've never done that here. Or my very favorite thing, and it was very humbling, the accommodations, the modifications, the supports that we use. Parents in IEP meetings, we talk about all of these things and they say, yes, thank you, but do they really understand them? And so finally, I was modeling the positive behavior supports and the accommodations that I was using in school, and parents were having those aha moments of, oh my gosh, is that what you meant when you were talking about using a visual schedule? Holy cow, I had no idea. Look at how that works. Or first then card. Oh, that's how that works. Or just some of those strategies that as educators, we talk very quickly and easily about, but as parents who maybe only have one or two children, and this is all the experience they've ever had in education is now with me as their model, I was able to really give some practical tips. And it was really great. I realized, wow, how much have I been talking about with parents that I haven't actually given them? All right. For those of you on Twitter, we would love to see your favorite quotes and thoughts from the day. Be sure to use the hashtag WATAC 2021 so we can see your posts and you can find other conference participants. We hope you'll join us between 4:30 and 5:30 as we continue to process the after conference Twitter chat. A huge thank you to C-STEP's Teacher Tech project teams for leading this chat. Valerie Buck and Mary Catherine McElroy from at Seesaw WA, and Emily Hamilton and Sharon Merrigan from At Schoolology WA will host tonight's chat. Be sure to follow these accounts to participate. Please look at your agenda. We have 3 breakout sessions scheduled for 10 a.m., 11:15 a.m., and 1 p.m. Each breakout session has a unique link to access that Zoom room. Descriptions for each of the breakout sessions is listed on pages 3 through 5 of the agenda. Please be sure to log in under your registered name for attendance purposes. Again, at 2:15 is Choose Your Own Adventure, where all participants get a chance to share. Set in an unconference format, participants have indicated topics they want to discuss, and rooms have been created for each of these. These sessions are unscripted, and we encourage discussion and idea sharing among participants in the room. You are welcome to remain in the same room the entire time or move around to other rooms. At 3:30, 2021 Washington Teacher of the Year, Brooke Brown, will begin her keynote presentation. Thank you to Denisha and David for emceeing with me this morning. Thank you all for joining us at the 5th Annual WATAC Spring Conference. We will head into a short break and we will see you in the first breakout session, which we will begin at 10 a.m.